Mitali, let's get these questions going. And, your opening submissions. Is this temporary reaction to these geopolitical events, or is this a warning sign for the economy, for the Indian economy on a macro level? We've seen these are shocking numbers, 31 lakh crore rupees wiped off of the Indian market since the conflict escalated. And it only began less than a fortnight ago.
So, first of all, thanks a lot for having me on this discussion. It's a very sobering reality that we're all facing, in the global economy at this point. And this is, of course, the first time in the last 12 to 15 years that India has encountered such a macroeconomic environment, right? And that is something that we all have to kind of digest, that the global environment today, the global economy today is on the brink of a massive stagflation. There has not been an oil shock of this kind in the global economic scenario, for a long time. And even before this, when there were crises in the Middle East, when there were flare ups in the West Asian region, there was a sort of tacit understanding amongst Gulf countries to stay off the oil assets and to not attack each other's, oil refineries or oil depots. But we're seeing that in this particular conflict, the gloves are off.
Yeah.
And that's why I do think that this is not a short-term phenomenon. We will see some, pain in the market for a while, but I do think that India's economy is resilient enough to be able to weather the storm.
Okay, many thanks for your opening comments. Just to add to that, Mitali, earlier in the day, there were some inside details that came out. These are government sources that were saying that, they've been orders to all the refineries to push LPG production, orders across the board to make sure that India stays resilient. And the larger message out there was that India is better off than other countries. Our neighboring nations, they're still asking and demanding for oil, but domestic use is going to be prioritized over industrial and commercial use. How does that impact market sentiment, essentially, Mitali?
So I think when you think about it from a macro lens, for us, domestic use is critical because domestic use means that the everyday consumer doesn't feel the pain in how they experience the war, right? I mean, but we've already seen that LPG prices have been pushed up. That 60 rupee
Yeah.
increase per gas cylinder is already coming down on households. So that's definitely one area. But the second aspect is also with respect to managing generalized inflation. We don't want this feeding into generalized inflation. I think somewhere the government will have to foot that bill through fertilizer subsidies, oil subsidies, agricultural subsidies, and then those bills will balloon.
Yeah, so a lot of pressure on the government, and that indirectly will come down to the common household as well.